Cheney. Here. Commissioner Cruz is excused. Commissioner Costello. Here. Commissioner Minihino. Here. Commissioner Rowe.
Here.
Commissioner Scott. Here. You have a quorum.
The first item is to excuse the commissioners that are not here. Is there a motion to approve that recommendation? That would be Commissioner Cruz.
Yes. So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Are there any members of the public that would wish to speak on the item? Strictly that we're missing one commissioner today. Seeing none, the commissioners all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved. The second item on our agenda today is the recommendation to approve the minutes from the Airport Advisory Commission of September 2015. Is there a motion to do same?
So moved.
Will you be a second?
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the minutes from September? Seeing none, the commission are there any members of the audience that would like to speak on the minutes? Seeing none, commissioners all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The item is approved. The third item is a recommendation of the minutes for the approval of October 20th, 2016. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on those minutes? October 20th. Are there any members of the public that have anything to say about the minutes of October 20th? Seeing none, the commissioners all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved. Are there any members of the public wishing to address the commission on non-agenda items? Please come forward and identify yourself. Seeing none, now we're going to move on to item number 4. Item number 4 is a recommendation to receive and file a presentation by the FAA Administration, Western Pacific Region, regarding SoCal Metroplex development. Should we have the presentation before we approve the recommendation?
Madam Chair, I don't believe that Mr. Martin is here yet. I know that Ron Reeds is out front, so I would just suggest if we could have the indulgence of the commissioner to wait until he has arrived and then clear it at the appropriate time.
So we'll go on to item 5 and go back to item 4. See, Mr. Reeves, but I guess he does not have a gentleman ready. Item number 5 is a recommendation to consider the content of the Airport Advisory Commission annual report and to take action to refer it to City Council. Well, before we can approve the recommendation, we need to have a discussion. City Councilors?
I'd like to move that we modify that report to exclude and put aside for later discussion all the items except for the FIS recommendation. And then here is a sort of a recasting, if you will, of that. Recasting of that motion.
This brings up an interesting point, Commissioner. This states, well read, that the entire commission agrees. And I question, since each of us represents a different district, if each commissioner agrees that we should recommend the FIS to City Council.
What else do we vote on? Should I read this so the audience knows? Please, we're not too fast. Yes.
Hang on, we have a motion to remove the annual report, and we have to take action on that first.
Just if we're amending the annual report.
Does something have to take place?
Well, I think you need a second to the motion, take a vote on whether or not you want to entertain that clarification, and then depending on if it's scary or not, then you can take up.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the recommendation? You made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? And this is moving the content of the annual report.
Which, regarding the annual report, was it going to be redone and presented to us to review
Yes.
in January? Thank you.
And that's the motion on the
That is the motion.
The motion also includes, it leaves one remaining item on the report that we are going to vote on, and that's the FIS station.
So the motion would be, we're taking the body of the annual report that we saw last month, that needs some revision because it doesn't necessarily go with the mandate that we were given as to what's to be in a manual report, and taking that out and putting it in our January agenda, and in the meantime, adding just one item to an annual report now, which would be the discussion of the FIS. Is that how we understand it?
Somewhat. We took some of those, we took the items out because there was more discussion that needed to be made on that. Some of our members objected to some of them, so my proposal is we set all those aside except for one. And then all we've done is just revise the proposal on that one item, which is the FIS station.
So I think we could be prepared to vote at least on that part at this point.
So my question is, so the audience understands, what we're doing, should I read this motion?
Well, that,
I have been reading the draft to the
Yes.
public. They don't see what we have in front of us, so that's somewhat.
If I may offer, I think that it's appropriate to read it after we take a vote on whether or not the commission wants to, consider. So you have a motion, you have a second, you've had discussion. If it carries, then I think it's appropriate to read.
Okay.
so what we're voting on now is that we will discuss this insert, but in the meantime, taking everything else and not looking at the annual report till January, when in fact we would have finished 1 year, and that would be an appropriate time to look at an annual report.
Madam Chair, the only thing I would offer, just for clarification, is that as you're referring to the draft document, I would continue to refer to it as a draft document, since you are potentially going to reconsider an annual report in January. So just so the two documents aren't confused with each other.
Okay. I will amend that to read, we will read the draft document and discuss it after we decide whether or not to move our annual report to January. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
I think Commissioner Scott already provided a second to that, so I think it's just a matter of voting.
Public comment before we vote on that. Okay, is there something like statement?
Joe Sokol, Hush. I was at that meeting. I was there for 2 hours, and I had to leave. This document that you had in front of you that you want to erase was created after that. I think if you're going to be passing this to the city council, you were there. You heard all of the homeowners who are directly affected by this. You ought to pass this document. Don't erase any of it. Don't just pass the whole thing to the city council so they know how you feel about those people who came to that meeting. That would be my recommendation. Do keep it in there, your annual report, too, if that's what you're going to do. That's my suggestion.
I want to make a little clarification here. The things that we're putting aside have nothing to do with the FIS. Those are all items that do not in any way relate to the FIS. What we're going to consider now is the FIS and the result of that meeting. That's next. Just for your clarifications. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak on the fact that we're taking the rest of that entire, item and put it aside?
I'm sorry, I just walked in late, so we're just talking about the FIS study?
No.
Please announce who you are, and we're not talking about the FIS, and we're talking about the balance of the annual report. The FIS is being held in mid.
This is the Airport Commission annual report.
Okay,
Frank, put it
well,
off.
sorry. Lori Smith, 3rd District. So I did just want to clarify, because I believe the gentleman before me was making a comment about your comments in that report about the FIS study. Yeah.
No, my mistake.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay. All right. So I'm confused. We are not taking comments on the FIS study.
That's correct.
Okay. While I'm up here, I'll just take this. So we're taking comments only on.
Moving the annual report
To January.
That's it.
Discussion of the annual report to January.
The draft and
No,
The draft, yeah. Okay. All right. Excuse me.
Are there any other comments from the audience? I'd like to then take a vote on that motion of moving the balance of the FIS being held aside to the January meeting for our annual report.
So, seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none, the item is approved. Now, I'm going to stop here just for a second. I can't help but notice that our gentleman from the FAA, I believe, is here. Can we hold this then in the... No.
Let's get beyond it.
Okay. So now we're going to discuss having just this one draft sent to City Council. And I go back to my original sentence. And that's it. Since this draft, which we will read aloud in a minute, states that the entire City Council Commission recommends this. This may be a difficult position for us to be in, since each of us represent different districts and have different opinions. But go ahead.
We may not. What we'll do is we'll insert the vote in here, whatever it might be.
We'll discuss that another time. So go ahead and read your draft. You're on the floor.
All right. Last month, the Long Beach Airport Advisory Commission conducted the first of 2 public presentations outlining the consultant's report on the proposed federal inspection station. The study articulated substantial economic benefits to our community from international flights, more jobs, and income. Moreover, the city attorney's office concluded the construction of a customs station at the airport would not have any effect on the noise ordinance, nor would it provide any platform for litigation to unravel it. On the other hand, rejecting the customs station proposal would give airlines an incentive to challenge the noise ordinance. After studying the consultant report and listening to the presentations, both from staff and concerned airport neighbors, the Commission recommends that the City Council approve construction of the FIS. We believe it is in the best interest of the city and the airport neighbors to do so.
Where do we start discussion?
We start with the audience.
Well, I believe there's a blatantly wrong statement in here.
Okay.
On the other hand, rejecting the customs station proposal would give airlines an incentive to challenge the noise ordinance.
We can line that out.
No, I'm not saying line it out, I'm just saying it's wrong.
Well,
It's only.
I don't think so. But if you do, that's fine.
They would only challenge it if there was a station, customs station here to get them in to use it.
Let's leave that sentence out.
Is there more discussion from the commissioners before I open it up to the floor? I go back to my concept that I believe each of us may have a different opinion as to whether we should recommend this to the city council.
Madam Chair, can I make a statement?
Yes, go ahead.
So one of my
concerns is just what I experienced. I have a lot of, we live here, everyone's concerned about the quality of life for everyone. People that are in the flight path and also in other districts. We're here to represent the people that we serve on this board. And I think we have an important responsibility to listen to their concerns, answer their questions. And I don't know if it's the right form or how we can go about that, if it's a blog or if we can have real-time answers to the questions by people that probably are the resident expert. But I think that we need to create an environment where we can answer their questions in a timely fashion. And I don't know how we'll go about doing that, but it's very important. This is their biggest investment, their home. It's their legacy that they pass to their family. And I think it's critical that we listen to them and have some sort of avenue and get their questions answered in a timely fashion.
Thank you, Commissioner Cheney. Is any other commissioners wish to speak on this item?
Well, I have another question. Okay. What's the avenue to create that? How do we set up some sort of blog page where in real time, whether it takes time, that their questions can be answered? Is there an avenue that we can do something like that and engage the community?
Commissioner Cheney, actually at both, primarily at the first meeting, which was had a lively debate and concern over answering questions. We made the commitment that questions that were asked at that meeting, as well as the following meeting that occurred at the Economic Development Commission, those will be compiled and answered. We're in that process now of getting that information back out based on those questions. We also made folks aware that they could use our email address for asking questions. To date, I have to turn to our PR director to see how many we've received. Since then, I don't know that we've received any, honestly. We did receive one person who handed us questions at that first meeting, so we already had that in place to answer your question, to make sure that remaining questions, or even questions that have been already asked as part of the first two public outreach community meetings that occurred earlier this year, those questions are responded to.
I'm sorry, I'm not, I think what Wayne was talking about, and I share that view, is if it's taking 2 months to respond to a question, it doesn't sound like a functioning democracy to me. And I think the frustration, at least that I felt at the meeting that we had, was that all people got to do was just to say what their concern was, and there was no response then, and now you're saying later, and here it is 2 months later, and they still haven't had an answer to their question.
Well, it hasn't been 2 months. Granted, I think the first meeting was a month ago. And as we all know, that was a very long meeting. It was recorded by a stenographer that was then transcribed into paper form. That it's taken some time. To your point, many of the speakers went up there were really more speaking commentary or comment, if you will, not necessarily asking questions. A good number of those questions, by the way, that were asked were previously asked as part of the community meetings, and that Q&A summary was part of the feasibility study exhibit or addendum, I forget which, but it was in one of the addendum in that report.
Well, I understand we're addressing it. It seems like we want the community to be involved. And it's a different flow, a different energy when I have communication with you instead of email. And I don't know if it's practical, if there is some way that other people can look at the questions, see the questions, look at the answer, because that'll help a lot of people that have, maybe it's not their question, but it's of interest. I'm learning an awful lot by listening to you. So,
Wayne, I'm going to interrupt you just for a second. really appreciate where you're going with that, but that's really not what we're talking about. What we're really talking about is this motion to look at this draft to see whether we should recommend this as a commission to city council. And that is a whole separate. Well, it is a good question, but it doesn't. Well, the question if it's appropriate relative to this. I believe if I summarized it, you would say you don't approve of this because of that. But how we handle that problem is not something that's part of this. Am I off base?
Let me interject it. That was a feasibility study, and the study as of that period of time said, yes, it's feasible. Now, let's not make a mistake. I think Jeff here is kind of focusing on the benefit to the city. Let's remember the primary benefit is for JetBlue. That their business model, and I suggest that would help their business model, and they requested the study. The study says, yes, it's feasible. The risk is low to outside or litigation from the outside. The challenge is low. There's still the potential there, but it's low. The in-plan study, the data modeling, it takes data in, it spits data out. So as far as what went in, I'm not exactly sure, and what came out is what we saw in the report. So essentially, it's just saying it's feasible, but is it right for the community? Is it proper for the community? When we make a recommendation, and this is something new for us, for the commission to be making a recommendation like that, we can say, yeah, we accept the study for what it is and forward it to the city, because the city's the ones that are ultimately responsible, the council, ultimately responsible for moving ahead or not. Just because it's feasible is to have the support of the people which the council members represent. They'll have to interface with the council. Out of that public input, there's only 2 people that really gave support for the idea, for the plan, for the FIS, not necessarily for the study, but supported the customs station. And they're both JetBlue employees, and I respect them for stepping up. Almost everybody else had concerns, whether it was from EIR being outdated, which the attorney or somebody said that would be handled at the next phase. Fine. Whichever way this goes, if you want to recommend that it go forward, so be it. But just because it's feasible doesn't necessarily mean that it's the most welcome thing. And what are we basing our vote on? Is it what we heard from the people, concerns from the people, or is it what we think is right for the city? Thank you.
Just to follow up what you're saying, at least my own judgment on it was based on, there's an old saying that we have to accept facts even if we don't like them. And I didn't hear anybody refute the facts and economic projections that were made in that report. So that made it fairly easy, at least for me, after I finished it. And it's long and detailed, I'll grant you. But it made it relatively easy to say, yes, this is in the best interest of our city, of our population, of all of us.
Easy for you to say.
I don't know if it's easy for me to say, it's just that's a conclusion I think that you have to draw from the facts, unless you want to contend that those facts somehow are wrong, or that the methodology was incorrect, and I haven't heard that in a month. No one has even suggested that.
Yeah, everybody talks about growth and jobs and that. I don't know if the city, how much more the city can handle. I'm already getting notices that I'm using too much water. With all the new projects going in, how are we going to sustain more growth? City of Long Beach, power outages every summer we can't handle. So adding more and more jobs growth, it's ideal. That's what you want to do, but can the city handle it? So I think from the economy point of view, I don't know Now, I don't always trust the numbers that are thrown out in studies. Like I said, what data goes in will spit the data going out. So I take that with a grain of salt. But then, like I said, do we really need it in Long Beach? There's 4 other custom stations around. For JetBlue's already operating LAX, they have that availability in there. Maybe they could swap the flights down to South America at LAX. What's at LAX? Bring them here, send airplane. They've got the business model. They know what's best for their business.
Well, this goes back to my general idea, my original statement. When we looked at this, when I first thought about it, I thought, oh, this is a good idea. But when I hear each of one of our commissioners talk from their own point of view, I find it difficult for us as a commission. Jeff, you said, say what the vote was, but when the vote doesn't tell them, we can't say we recommended when we, at least, the way I listen to it.
We can say that we voted X to Y on this motion, which now excludes the sentence that Al objected to.
I suppose.
I guess my question is, I don't know if it's this commission's purview to recommend
That's where I'm
they
going.
go ahead. We could recommend that, yeah, we accept the study, but to recommend that they go ahead and build the facility, I don't think that's, I'm not comfortable with that.
And
Go ahead, Jim.
okay, I had to flip back to the notes of the meeting of our October 20th, 2016 meeting. And to item 4, and it's the recommendation to consider the content of the Airport Advisory Commission annual report and take action to refer it. We're not saying it's right, but we're saying the information presented so far gives us a good model enough to consider the possibility that it may work. It may not. That's not our decision, but right at this point, it is, we've taken on this responsibility at this moment to make a recommendation, or we're going to refer our opinion to the council. And I think that's all we're doing, we're referring that FIS commission, the FIS feasibility study, we are saying we find nothing negative that would stop it from moving forward. We should refer it to City Council for their consideration.
Yeah. Well, but the wording doesn't say that. The wording says it recommends the City Council approve construction of the FIS.
So if you want to take a vote on that, I'm ready.
Do we want to modify this wording then in some fashion?
I don't have a problem with the way it's written.
Well, first of all, we have to ask people in the audience to comment. No, we don't. Well, first we have to listen to their comments.
Good afternoon.
Can we
Let
make
me
sure?
have a rule on that. Do we listen to their comments first, or do we vote first?
Let's do comments.
Yes, that's fine.
The rules as apply, as always, please name and address and grievance, please.
My name is Ray Gavlich, and I'm a 48-year resident of Long Beach. I've served both on the Board of Health and Human Services and the Parks and Recreation Commission, followed by 2 elected terms on the City Council representing the 8th District. It is my opinion that your draft document is not a legitimate annual report of Commission activities. The purpose of the annual report is to advise the City Council on the Commission's activities of the prior year and their goals for the following year. Instead, this 2016 report criticizes and attempts to demean the neighborhood group known as Hush 2, the community group that I have been associated with since 1985, then under the leadership of Councilmember Ed Tuttle. It was a time when not only was the city being sued by dozens of airlines who wanted flight slots at Long Beach, but also sued by hundreds of Long Beach families. For the record, today, Hush represents over 1,000 homes in Long Beach, not 50 individuals. Hush 2 reorganized in 2001 when JetBlue was approved for all remaining flight slots at Long Beach, and the city promises were made to enlarge our airport terminal. To be clear, history has proven LB Hush 2 to be on the right side and has shown why blindly accepting what aviation experts state can prove terribly wrong. In May 2001, the city attorney's office said that an airport-related action that didn't touch the airport ordinance wouldn't risk the airport ordinance. That advice turned out to be dead wrong. The council's action triggered complaints, brought an FAA administrative inquiry, and nearly brought a worst-case scenario lawsuit. When residents learned that council members had done this basically to support JetBlue, they voted out 2 council members and elected 2 new ones, including myself. Among my first challenges was facing JetBlue's demand for new permanent terminal facilities. A city-hired consultant recommended a monstrosity over 30% larger than we have now. The consultant's advice would have permanently destroyed our boutique-sized airport. LB hushed to oppose this. I opposed this. So did thoughtful members of this commission and the majority of the council members. And as a result, we prevailed, and Long Beach today has an airport that wins awards and travelers love. In 2013, without council voted authority, but at the request of JetBlue, airport management began pursuing a customs facility, an action that couldn't be limited to JetBlue. Jeff, this is for you. Our airport management commissioned 2 internal feasibility studies. Neither one of these reports could justify the investments based on needed funding and the less than significant economic impact it would have on Long Beach. It was a Long Beach-based report, not a regional report. Have you read the 2013 reports? Have you read the 697-page Jacobs study?
Yes.
Appeasing a single airline is bad policy. A corporate entity ultimately acts to advance its bottom line. Your role and this city's role is to protect the public interest, not parrot corporate interests. Obviously, they're not always the same. And I know you're going to cut me off, but I'm going to say one more thing. I recommend that you recommend to the city council that they have an FIS study before the city council and invite you to attend once again. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Sarah Langley, and I live at 3821 North Jock Bowman Place, Long Beach, California. And I've been around for like 25 years. And I want to correct this gentleman here who said the last meeting on the 20th, I believe it was the 20th that you had the meeting before. And you said that people have to ask questions and answers. At the very end, for everybody left with a lot of people, you should have said, okay, they need answers now.
Can you speak into the microphone?
You know, first there was a big argument about, will there be any questions, will there be any answers? Okay, you can make comments, and then after everybody left, you said, oh, I guess we can answer some questions now. Well, that was a little late, so, no.
Thank you.
Hi, John Almo, 5469 East Avenue Street. I'm the chair of the Los Altos Center adjacent neighborhoods. I have been to every single one of the feasibility studies. I even went to the Metroplex FAA study in Orange County. I think the only other person in this room is Ron Reeves, who's in everything. At the Economic Commission, they received and filed. At your committee meeting, you received and filed the FIS study. My understanding is the next, because everyone was there for FIS, the next item was this report. In the report, it had to recommend the FIS facility. So it was written even before this commission even heard all the comments from everyone. The other thing is, I want to point out, I'm not an expert, but my understanding is the agenda item was put off until January. And so what you're voting on right now isn't really an agendized item because you've already accepted that item and you put it off until January. So I'm thinking that this might be a Brown Act violation by now having a motion on the floor from an item that was already voted on and set off to January. Just saying that that might be a problem. The other thing is that really the community really needs to have the council look at this. This shouldn't even be before you. You received it in file. That's what you should do. You should move on to other items. The report looks like basically a plan for the airport in the future, And I'm not sure that a lot of those things were even discussed over the year. So I know that my community is very concerned about everything that is going on in this meeting today. I believe we're early to be here today, and I think when they hear back, it's not going to look very good on this commission. I know that our commission representative, Elizabeth Cruz, is not here because of a family emergency, and so we don't really even have a voice here. My neighborhood.
Yes, you do.
Well, we don't have, right, she's in our neighborhood, so my neighborhood looks to her. Anyway, I just want to bring those points up. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Joe Sopo, I wanted to, Doug Halbert, name you might be familiar with, was on the AAC. He's also our city prosecutor. He stood before you in 2015, and these are his words. In my opinion, it is an area the city should be extremely cautious because they're creating, in addition to the domestic carriers who potentially might be the suspects, to challenge our ordinance. And I don't even know all the international carriers, but you're essentially creating a whole new list of suspects that might want to challenge our noise ordinance. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you remember the first challenge was the result of someone feeling that the system was gamed, that JetBlue came in, they got all extensions, and were able to ramp up service in Long Beach, and Long Beach wasn't gaming the system, but they thought they were. They even thought that no one wanted our slots at one time. Somebody came in and all the slots were given to them. But that's a feeling of unfairness. If someone looks at JetBlue and says JetBlue gets all the international flights because they're underutilizing their existing slots, they may feel that it's unfair too, and that they may create that argument that they want to challenge the noise ordinance because they weren't treated fairly. So those are two things that are extremely, extremely careful if the city can do anything to guarantee that those two dynamics don't create a motive or an environment for someone who is interested in challenging the noise ordinance. It would be very smart. He also said Airline X currently flies from Long Beach to Texas. And so who's the competition? Other airlines that fly from Long Beach to Texas, right? What if the airline is now flying from Long Beach to, say, Cabo San Lucas? I don't know who flies from LA to Cabo San Lucas, but whoever that person is going to feel extremely threatened by an airline that is now has a route to Cabo San Lucas. That's exactly what happened last time with JetBlue. Someone felt threatened. I think there are two airlines that complained to the FAA because they felt threatened by another airline that's competing in their markets. JetBlue can currently fly anywhere in the country domestically. They want to fly, but if Long Beach allowed international flights, now they're opening up a worldwide market. Other carriers may want to fly internationally as well and would seek slots. Wherever they go in the world, they're going to be competing with somebody. Whoever they compete with is going to feel threatened. It's just happened 10 years ago or 15 years ago. Doug said, I'm a lawyer. I'm very cautious. I'm paid to worry, and you should worry. You should invite Doug Halbert here to speak in front of you about this issue. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Donna Sievers. I live at 3020 East Vista in Bluff Heights. I just wanted to mention first for this, Commissioner Gosling, I appreciate that you brought up the issue of what feasibility actually means, because I had that same question when we had this feasibility study. And if you look it up, I just checked on Google again, feasibility means possible to do. So I think maybe I would agree it is possible to do this FIS facility. It's possible and feasible. But my question is to all of you to really search our Long Beach souls. Is it wise or is it necessary? I think to either of those questions I say no, it's not a wise decision and it's certainly not necessary given some of the points you made with airports Ontario, all the other ones that have been serving national clients. Two of my concerns about the comments that Commissioner Rowe just read to us. The first one is, I also attended the meetings. There was passionate outbursts from people because it's such a sensitive topic. And I don't see anywhere in your report that you actually spoke to that. There were 3 city council members that also heard that, but there were other city council members who were not present. And it would be behooving on your part, I think, to give them a fair, honest representation of what we all heard, which was tremendous concern about our municipal airport being turned into an international airport. My next concern would be about this legal issue. Your comment was that it sounded like your conclusion is that there's no legal difficulty here. We're going to be fine, and we all know that that's not possible. I think our city attorney also made that statement clear when he said that any carrier or group of carriers could challenge our noise ordinance. Recently, I just was looking at some of the information. We have 35 slots that are JetBlue, and we have 15 slots that are allocated to other carriers. I think any judge in the country might question why JetBlue has such a, even though they probably gained those slots in a very reasonable legal manner, the end result is they have a very strong financial interest in this international airport, and other carriers will easily, I think, soon. So again, I'll go back to my thought, you need to be very wise, and is this issue necessary? And I hope you would just be more balanced in your report to the city council.
Thank you.
I'd like to just interject a little bit. The annual report period would go through September of 2016. The FIS project came before us in October. So that annual report should not cover anything to do with the FIS in that period of time. That all the FIS stuff will be from October 2016 through September of 2017, the next report.
So, let me be sure I understand this. The annual report that we will discuss in January is from September to September.
Accordingly, yes. September, October through September. So the October 2015 through September 2016. The FIS stuff started in October. So that'll be in the next report, not this one that somebody can talk about.
That kind of